There have been plenty of times in my life where I couldn't find even more than a half an hour to practice. Whether it be due to having a lot of work, having an injury, or just losing motivation, sometimes it can be a struggle to find that productive guitar time. Now, the same way that you wouldn't do the same exercise routine 5 days a week, this is just one available 30-minute routine that I break up into easy, medium, and hard categories. Also, obviously, if you like an idea from one of the categories but find yourself in one other, feel free to mix and match. Also, if you like what you see here, please comment, like, subscribe. It really helps the channel. And here is the 30-minute practice routine. First up is a 5-minute chunk of rhythm work. The easy level would be muted strums at 60 beats per minute, just quarter notes, eighth notes, triplets, and sixteenths. A lot of metronome apps have subdivisions available, and I'd recommend doing your eighths, triplets, and sixteenths with and without the metronome subdivisions. The biggest challenge at this stage would be going from eighths or sixteenths to triplets. It's a very different feel and it can throw a lot of people. Here's about 5 seconds of me doing just that. The medium level would be to just introduce some more complicated rhythms and mostly still muted. Try subdividing notes within the triplet. Try combining eighths and sixteenths. Also, maybe try speeding up the metronome just a tad and adding some chord stabs. Take one of your favorite grooves, for instance, and instead of just jamming out and getting lost in the moment, still view it as an exercise, and it'll give a new perspective onto just how tightly you are locking into that groove. Here's some amount of seconds of me trying that. Hard level is all of the above but adding polyrhythms. 3/2, 4/3, 5/2, etc. Now you might go, hey, I don't listen to these rhythms very often. Music I listen to doesn't have these rhythms very often, if at all. Why do I need to do them? Fair enough, but working on stuff like this will only help to solidify your time feel. It's kind of like if you're trying to play fast, and if you try to play faster than your actual goal is and then bring it back to your goal seems quite a bit easier. Also, get into experimenting with different fills while playing a groove. If you kind of lock into a steady groove, you can really focus on the fill itself, although try not to get too carried away. Next chunk is 10 minutes and it scales. The easy level of this is going to be pentatonics and major modes. Simply running up and down them for now is fine, although I would suggest, as you're able, increasing the challenge. Start with your standard 2-octave box pattern, and then try to play that same 2 octaves 4 different ways. For instance, here's a 2-octave G major scale played 4 different ways. After you hit the 2 octaves a bunch of times, try to move to 3. This alone will give you quite a bit to work on if you haven't gone over it already. Also, once you have those 2-octave and 3-octave scales down, try doing the same thing but in thirds, fourths, fifths, kind of like this. Now the medium level would be melodic minor and harmonic minor modes. Basically, if you've ever expressed an interest in playing jazz or some rock fusion or something like that, you're gonna want to be familiar with these scales. In both of those genres, you can find a lot of chord progressions that really highlight the essence of these modes. Now the hard level of this would be adding like whole tone, symmetrical scales, and harmonic major. It might take a little while to get these in your ear, and again, finding little progressions or making your own are really going to help for getting used to the sound. Try writing out some melodic ideas that have varying rhythms and try to practice them with different speeds along with a metronome. The last section is 15 minutes, so half of our routine, and that is constructive repertoire building. I just want to preface that with, this means more than just like learning a riff. This means using learning songs as a way to apply the previous 15 minutes of practice, as well as sneak in other areas of practice. Some of those other areas include arpeggios, phrasing, tone, etc. Now the easy level would be blues, rock, and pop songs. Learning some of the funk guitar parts of Paul Jackson Jr. or Nile Rodgers, learning a blues and trying out major pentatonic, minor pentatonic, or mixolydian over each chord in your solo, or even just finally learning your favorite solo like Sweet Child of Mine or Shook Me All Night Long. All of these will help grow your musicianship and playing skill while also building setlist after setlist that you'll be able to play with other musicians. The medium level here will be building a jazz standard repertoire, as it'll really expand and challenge your knowledge of the fretboard. You could try arpeggiating your way through the chord changes, playing the corresponding chord scale with each of the changes, and you're probably best off making a solo guitar arrangement while learning each tune. Now the hard level is going to be jazz or classical repertoire again, but with one major addition. Build a repertoire as if you're building a solo set for a venue, where you need a healthy balance between ballad, mid-tempo, and up-tempo, and hopefully your own take on it. Developing a unique approach to your solo guitar might seem like a vague goal, but it's one worth having in the back of your mind as you go about building these arrangements. So there you have it, that's my 30-minute routine. If you're strapped for time, I highly consider giving it a shot, or just giving it a shot and then continuing practicing. It's a really great way to tick a lot of boxes really quickly. So thanks very much for watching, and I'll see you all next week.